Hello everyone, welcome back to Babe Obadma channel. For the latest movie Eternal from Marvel, which is scheduled to be released in November this coming. This is a story about humans who are empowered by gods. These are the Celestials, the oldest first species in the Marvel Universe. Each Eternal has watched civilizations burgeon and die from their domain of Olympia. They are immortals blessed with strange. So, today we will take the profile of Ikaris, one of the Eternal. Well, so as not to waste time, let's take a look profile of Ikaris, the man who led the Eternals. Ikaris was first appeared in Eternals Volume 1 Issue 1 in July, 1976. Ikaris, like every Eternal, he was created by the Celestials 1 million years ago and has looked after humanity ever since. He was born over 20,000 years ago under another name, which has not been revealed. At the time of the Great Cataclysm, the second host of the Celestials, that sank Atlantis and devastated Earth in 18,500 years before Christ. The Eternal named Nepishtim built an ark in order to save some human beings as well as animals from the flooding. Which later, Ikaris came to guide it an ark of refuges to safety to a mountaintop by flying high above them, where the survivors could disembark to restart society. The humans aboard the ark mistook Ikaris for a bird, and the tale eventually became part of human folklore. Over the millennia, Ikaris became a constant opponent of the Deviants, a misshapen race who were also created by the Celestials. Ikaris fought against countless monstrous deviants in their various attempts to oppress humanity. In the days of Greek mythology, Ikaris was assigned to battle minotaur-shaped deviants in the labyrinthine tunnels they had dug beneath the Aegean Sea. During this time he met and married an immortal human woman whom he met in Monolcrete, and they had a son, whom they named Ikaris. The younger Ikaris did not gain the full power of an Eternal and wanted to fly with his father, with the aid of Phastos and the Eternal Makari, the Elder. Ikaris constructed an artificial flying device so that the young Ikaris could fly. But before the elder Ikaris could teach his young son how to use the device properly, he had to leave on a long mission fighting deviants in distant areas of the globe. The younger Ikaris, convinced that his father must have been trapped by enemies, then he put on the flying device to fly in search of him. While seeking to find his father, the younger Ikaris flew to locate him, but the younger Ikaris soared too high into the atmosphere and fainted for lack of oxygen. He drifted in the upper atmosphere for days until the sun's ultraviolet rays burned out the device's controls, and he fell into the sea. The elder Ikaris eventually returned, and found him and buried his son's body. He then adopted his son's name as a memorial to him. Later, Viraco, the father of Ikaris, died battling mutated earthworm about 1,000 years ago, during the preparations of a group of Eternals for the arrival of the Celestials' third host. Vulcan, the uncle of Ikaris, then adopted Ikaris as his own son. Ikaris trained for 1,000 years to sharpen his senses so that he might find the Celestials' beacon left behind in the Inca Chamber of the Gods in Peru to direct the fourth host of the Celestials there. When the time came for the Celestials to return, Ikaris, posing as a guy named Ikaris, went to the chamber with the human archaeologist Dr. Daniel Damian and his daughter Margot Damian, which Ikaris posed as a human being so as not to alert the deviants. Ikaris revealed his true identity to the Damians, fought off a deviant attack force trying to destroy the beacon and reawaken Ajak. After reviving, Ajak and his followers quickly prepare the coming of their gods, the Celestials. He activates a ceremonial pylon to receive the first of these galactic beings. This is Arishem, leader of the fourth host of the Celestials. The temple of the God Chamber starts to quake and the other celestial minions begin sealing it off. Dr. Damian, refusing to let such historical treasures to be lost forever, elects to stay behind. However, Margot refuses to leave her father behind, but Ikaris doesn't give her much of a choice. He grabs Margot and races back to their aircraft. Ikaris brings Margot back to the United States. He knows that she is still shaken for leaving her father behind. He takes her to the penthouse apartment of another Eternal, Circe. He asks Circe to care for Margot while he goes off to battle the Deviants. Ikaris flies over Manhattan and begins fighting Crow's deviant armies. He tried to defend New York City against a Deviant's attack, but one of the Deviants fires a brain mine at Ikaris. The projectile strikes him in the head and he falls to a rooftop unconscious. That makes he was captured and imprisoned in a tube at the bottom of the ocean. From within the city of the space gods, Ajit monitors the deviant attack on New York. He learns of Ikaris' defeat and retrieves the capsule containing his body. He was released after Athena had reached a truce with Crow and his forces and was amongst the group who revealed the race's existence to Professor Samuel Holden. Later, the Grandmaster kidnapped Ikaris and every known hero away from Earth. They was sent to battle in a specially made arena. After the heroes get some time to recover and wonder what's going on, the Grandmaster introduces himself and his opponent, Death, to the group. The Grandmaster explains that he has made a deal with Death to choose his champions that represent each team and play games together. And if the heroes refuse to work along, Earth will remain in the stasis it is in now. Finally, in a hilarious failure in counting, the final score between the Grandmaster and Death was 2-2, but Marvel Editorial apparently lost track of who was on the final team, and presented it in the comic as if the Grandmaster won 3-1. Later, Ikaris and the Eternals were captured while in Olympia by Crow and held in suspended animation until Iron Man, which at that time Rhodey was wearing armor, who had been brought to the city after Athena had mentally modified his armor to do so for rescue them. At a later time, Ikaris and Margot Damien had by now fallen in love. When the Eternal race decided to leave Earth after the departure of the Celestials' fourth host, the Eternals' collective consciousness in the form of the Uni-Mind decreed that certain Eternals who were particularly involved with earthly matters, including Ikaris, that remain behind. Ikaris remained on Earth as a guardian of humanity against any menace posed by the Deviants. One time, Warlord Crow wanted to attack and destroy Pyramid of the Winds that created by his uncle Vulcan. Though make Ikaris and his allies tried to stop Warlord Crow from raiding the Pyramid of the Winds. Ikaris wrests leadership of the Eternals from Athena, which at that time Athena, being traumatized by her father's death, allowed her, being subtly influenced by a brain mine Crow had placed upon her. When she learned of the brain mine, she was furious with Crow, but had forgiven him after a while. And at that moment, a priesthood deviant named Gore wanted to acquiring the essence of the dreaming celestial. Ikaris led an attempt by various Eternals to thwart the plans, but they were unsuccessful in stopping Gore. Finally, Ikaris and the Eternals joined forces with the Avengers West Coast to stop Gore from freeing the true dreaming celestial succeeded. But, unfortunately, Margot Damien was killed when she was turned into a deviant to get to Ikaris. That made him very sad. Later, Ikaris and the Eternals joined the battle against Thanos when he tried to become one with the universe. Ikaris and his fellow Eternals were victims of memory wipe caused by Sprite, one of Eternal. He caused them all to forget their true identities to give them new lives as human beings with power of the dreaming celestial, and that makes Ikaris believing himself to be Ikaris. Ikaris in the form of Ikaris was captured by two deviants, or Morjack and Gelt. Morjack and Gelt were deviant worshippers of the dreaming celestial. They kidnapped Ikaris, and after several attempts, eventually managed to kill him. But he survived and appeared beneath Olympia. This caused him to regain his memory and powers. Ikaris began his mission to recover all the Eternals. He teamed up with Makari in hope of reawakening the lost and 90 others. Later, at Hawaii, Red Hulk, Machine Man and Annie are on the island of Cave trying to contain a Hydra-like sea creature. While X-51 and the Red Hulk work together to destroy the monster, Annie tries to get a crowd of people to safety. From this event, Circe, of the Eternals, observed the incident and reported the situation to Ikaris at Olympia, which at that time these Eternal began to debate on how to handle humanity. They wondered if they should leave them be, defend them, or rule over them, while some think they should form the Uni-Mind. Suddenly, the discussion is interrupted when Ikaris hears Circe screams. He demands a portal be opened so he can come to her aid. Back on Cave, the Red Hulk's senses detect that Circe is not a human being and demands answers from her. She quickly explains that she is trying to prove to her people that humanity can be heroic. This causes the Red Hulk to stand down, but it is too late as Ikaris appears on the scene and strikes the Red Hulk and knocked into the nearby volcano. Machine Man tried to help, but he was no match for the Eternal. Before Circe can explain what is going on, The Red Hulk recovers and throws a massive rock at Ikaris, bowling him over. The two come to blows with such force it begins disrupting the magma field, putting Circe, X-51 and Annie at risk from the hot magma. Suddenly, the Red Hulk bursts free, but Ikaris is not far behind him. Instead of resuming his attack, Ikaris smashes into the ground to divert the magma flow harmlessly into the ocean. When the Red Hulk asks why he did that, Ikaris explains that he protects innocents and does not destroy their homes, like Earth's heroes. Circe tries to convince Ikaris that this was all a big misunderstanding, and they begin to argue. That's when Earth contacts them and tells them to Olympia to discuss things further. As they teleport away, Annie fears that the Red Hulk's temper made them an enemy they didn't really need. Back at Olympia, Eurus is unimpressed with those the humans choose as their champions. He is furious that Earth's heroes have no qualms touting their powers even though they are powerful. Later, Ikaris was kidnapped by Tanalth, or also known as RK3, a Skrull empress who came from the House of Tirish. She wants to use them as a weapon against the invaders, which consists of members as follows: Captain America as Steve Rogers, Winter Soldier as Bucky Barnes, Human Torch as Jim Hammond, who came to Hala in order to rescue Namor from being caught. The invaders are trapped on a hostile world and under relentless attack from the mind-controlled Ikaris. However, with the help of one of Eternal, Makari, they led Ikaris out of control and successfully rescued Namor. Later, when the countless bodies of Celestials rained down on the Earth to herald the arrival of the Dark Celestials, the Eternals learned a dark truth that drove them mad: that the true purpose of their kind was to cultivate humankind, since the first host of Celestials allowed humanity to thrive because they saw in their genetic makeup the potential to act as antibodies against the Horde. In their madness, the Eternals either turned against each other or committed suicide, including Ikaris. Before dying, he was found by Iron Man and Doctor Strange, who had traveled to Olympia to investigate the final host. Ikaris told the pair how he and fellow Eternals lost their minds because their true purpose was hidden. Hoping to help the heroes stop the Horde, Ikaris mentally passed on to Iron Man the key to summon a Unimind. That make these Avengers to giant size with celestial power and fight with Dark Celestial. After the mass suicidal event causing all the Eternals die after learning the truth of their being, thus Eternals were all rebirthed at once due to their eternal nature. Ikaris being the last Eternal to die during the Dark Celestial's reign, he was the last to be resurrected. Ikaris was tasked by Eurus with freeing Sprite, which reborn as a young woman. He followed her to New York City, traveling around Times Square and subduing deviants. Finally, both of them returned to Olympia, but they found killed by someone they were both suspected in: the freshly murdered Eurus. Ikaris and Sprite tracked the murderer's trail to the ruined city of Titanos, where they encountered Eurus' apparent murderer, the Mad Titan, Thanos. Ikaris eagerly battled Thanos, but Thanos proved too much. So, Sprite created an illusion of Ikaris to distract Thanos while she and Ikaris escaped. Both of them returned to Olympia and told their fellow Eternals of Thanos' return. Drew asked Ikaris if he had any proof. Ikaris countering that the wounds on his face were proof of Thanos' return. Drew had advised that they wait for Eurus' resurrection before making move. However, Phastos revealed that the Wardens of the Exclusion were dead and the resurrection machine was inoperable, so Eurus couldn't be resurrected. As Drog and Ikaris accused each other of treason, Circe appeared and took Ikaris away to heal him. While Ikaris talked with Circe, Sprite, Phastos, and Kingo Sunan, they discovered that the resurrection process had been rigged so Thanos could be brought back, indicating that there was a traitor among the Eternals. Also, the machines of resurrection were connected to Earth's biosphere. If they weren't fixed within a week, Earth would be rendered uninhabitable for humans. Ikaris then left to meet with a human named Toby Robson, who he swore to give his life to protect. Who is the suspected traitor? Why is Ikaris so interested in the fate of a human boy? Which the story will be next. We must continue to follow.